Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where we talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Call of the Night Season 1, Episode 12. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So, picking up in the aftermath of last episode, it kind of goes the way I figured as much, that Ko, because he got to see the ugly side of vampirism, it kind of scared him. And it's interesting because we see Anko talking to Mahiro, but we don't see her talking to Akira, even though Akira did get her card too. But it's the interesting three different perspectives on vampirism. I guess four, really, if you include Anko. Anko has a very negative opinion of vampires and a very deep-seated hate for them. Mahiro has a lot of fear for them because he's never interacted with vampires. His first experience with a vampire was a negative one, whereas Akira's experience with the vampire was like Nazuna, and now it's like, oh, like, it wasn't that bad, and she kind of just accepted it. To be fair, she hasn't interacted with any of the other vampires, so she has handled this very calmly, even though she knows Ko's circumstances. She's the one that points out, like, hey, if you don't become a vampire in a year, they'll kill you, right? So she kind of processes that like the way she does, and Ko processes things completely different, but also he has a positive experience because the first vampire he ever met was Nazuna, and that kind of led to all of this, and the different vampires he met, and he doesn't have a negative opinion of them despite the complicated circumstances that made him run into those other vampires. So it's, like I said, it's really interesting when you look at the four perspectives, and Mahiro is in just the right position for Anko to like sway him and be that voice of reason to kind of lead him down a very like anti-vampire route. But yeah, Ko is in a position of trying to figure out, like, he's like, I need to talk to Nazuna, which I was hoping he would. He wouldn't avoid her, that he talked to her. So obviously she's starved. She's like, oh my God, let me get to you. And she's like, oh my God, I don't know what I would have done. And then that freaked him out. He's like, sorry, and pushes her away. And she's like, oh, like, what happened? Because despite Ko not being very good at discovering and understanding his feelings, the fact is that, and he even brings it up later, Nazuna has always been someone who's accepted and been accommodating of all his feelings, and in fact embraced that and told him to embrace all his feelings, to feel what he feels. Not only because of the taste of blood, but I think she also thinks it's a necessary part of Ko's growth, that it's like, yeah, you've kind of gone this bit of your life not really processing and really like embracing all there is to you, especially your emotions. It's just all kind of new to you at this age, and you know, whereas like that's common enough for people, but just for whatever reason Ko doesn't really process stuff well, and it's just all kind of new to him. So she wants him to kind of feel it, because I think it also goes into the whole conversation about first time experiences. It's like you need to, that rush of feeling everything for the first time, experiencing things for the first time. That's the fun of it, the human condition and feeling all that you feel. So, but yeah, they talk it out, and Nazuna's kind of like, oh, okay, so that's how things are. It's like, oh, like, you saw that vampire, and she puts it out there like vampires. Like, it's kind of said that they will die 10 years if they go that long without drinking blood. And so it's like this guy even said it himself. He's like either he would have offed himself, or that would have been a situation where he just would have died if he hadn't tried to attack Akira or even tasted Anko's blood. But that would have been his last day, probably, because it would have been 10 years at that point. I mean, the vampire rules are very specific in this world. It's like, once again, first time you're getting your blood sucked, you got 1 year, because if you don't become a vampire in that year, you never can be. And if you go 10 years without drinking, you will die. It'll take that long for you to like finally die. So even bringing up the fact is like, yo, she was able to kill a vampire, and it's like, really? Because even Nazuna's having her hesitation about believing that, which even I'm like, she didn't really kill him. She basically made him stay where the sun was, and that killed him. Like, my theory still is because that ring she put in his hand, because they didn't see it, we as the audience did, but it's like she was able to get him to stay there because she reminded him of his humanity. Because I think, like I said, maybe he was married and he ended up abandoning his family upon becoming what he became as a vampire. You have Ko apologizing to Nazuna because he's like, right, for the first time I kind of realized how scary vampires were. And she's like, well, duh, you idiot. Like, you should have kind of already realized that long before now. But he asked her, like, no, go ahead and bite me. He's like, I'm okay. I'm sorry I pushed you away before. Because for him, it's like, it's kind of okay. It feels good to be, once again, fear is another emotion and feeling like he let himself not really feel up until now. And it's like, right, it's okay to, once again, the whole range of emotions, it's like, it's okay. Like, even fear itself is kind of a good thing to feel. And so obviously continuing this, he ends up going to talk to Mahiro, and Mahiro, ask him, is like, like what we experienced was a vampire, was it? And it's like, well, and he tries to say like that isn't what all vampire situations are, but once again, Mahiro is scared, and now he's asking like, you want to become one? He's like, but why do you want to become one? Is it really just because you enjoy the night? Which he's like, hey, I get that. He's like, you've always been the type of person that he admits to he ends up admitting to Ko, like, I know, like, you never really felt like, you never were the type to like enjoy having to fit in, and you did that at school, but really I know like that was just, you feel a lot more comfortable at night because you kind of get to just be you. You don't have to fit in the mold of what people need you to be or expect you to be. And then ultimately, but it's like, what do you really want to get out of becoming a vampire? And Ko always had his thoughts about why he wanted to become one, but now it's like, is it just the freedom of the night? But he's like, no, I get that, just enjoy, like, does that imply like my life isn't free now? But it's like, no, I get to still sneak out, enjoy the night, have fun. I don't necessarily need to be a vampire to do it. Is it because of Nazuna? But it's like, no, I'm with her because I want her to make me into a vampire. Is it to fall in love? But it's like, no, I'm trying to fall in love with Nazuna so that I can become a vampire. So it's like, even he's like, I don't really fully know. Like, he's never at the heart of it being properly confronted by. It's like, why do you want to become a vampire? You say you want to, but why? And he can't give Mahiro an answer. Mahiro's just like, right, I need you to know, like, if you were to become one, like, are you comfortable with drinking someone's blood? Because that's a reality. Or will you end up like that dude and not drinking any blood and like maybe like hurting someone or putting yourself in a situation? Like, could you be able to hold off for those 10 years like that guy did? So Ko ends up later on talking to Nazuna about it, where it's like, because when he went to her place, he immediately started hugging her. He's like, right, sorry, I just need to do this for a bit. And it's like, right, your friend confronted you. But in fact, they actually go back to Ko's place where his mom left some money for him to eat. But we also find out his home life. He's being raised in a single mother household because his dad and mom are divorced. So his dad lives elsewhere. So I wonder, does he hang out with his dad at all? Probably not. Maybe he sees his dad from time to time, or maybe his mom has sole custody. Obviously, we didn't get into those deeper conversations, but that's interesting, having some insight into his home life, because I just referenced it last episode. I was like, oh, with his parents, but I'm like, well, we don't know what his home life is. I was like, because I was thinking, well, he could potentially be living with a sibling if he has one, but it's like, no, he's living with his mom. And so, obviously, the first thing Nazuna's looking for is the porn, but Ko doesn't have any. And she's like, no, that doesn't make any sense. You're a middle school boy. Of course you got the porn somewhere. He's like, is it this side of your bed? Ooh, there's a tissue. He's like, that's from my snotty nose. And she's like, sure. And Ko's obviously freaking out because he's like, well, it's not the first time he's ever had a girl in his bed, his room, but specifically like since being in middle school, it's the first time. And there's a girl sitting on his bed, and he's kind of freaking out about it. And there's also, this person's very lewd and positioning herself a certain way. But she can read Ko pretty easily, and she figures you're kind of uncertain about whether or not you want to become a vampire or not. And he kind of doesn't really say anything, but she's like, I get it. She's like, most people, to be fair, most normal people wouldn't be unsure. Most people would be like, hey, I don't want to become a vampire because it would mean I'd hurt my friends. And that's the thing for Ko. It's like, I don't want to hurt anybody in that regard, but like, what if I do end up hurting my friends? I don't know if I'd be able to kind of forgive myself. But it is the thing of, he does enjoy the night and stuff like that. But then Nazuna gives him a different perspective on it, where it's like, why do you enjoy the night so much? He's like, oh, because it's fun. She's like, yeah, because it's the opposite of your ordinary life. Hanging out, going out in the night, it's fun and stuff, but it's because it's outside of your ordinary. It's unordinary for you, because going to school during the daytime and stuff like that, that's normal. So the nighttime is so captivating because it's the opposite of what you know. But think about it. Every time you've been out subsequently, has it ever reached the same heights as that first night you came out? It's like, it hasn't. It's like, she's like, that's what this whole thing is. Like, basically, you're always chasing that high of excitement. But she's like, I've been a vampire for decades, and it's boring. The fact is, it's like, because once you become a vampire, this whole thing, night, being a vampire, all of it becomes your ordinary. And, you know, the unordinary is what you're always chasing, but the ordinary becomes boring. And she's like, I'm sorry that I, lied to you about, like, it's not like vampirism. Like, vampirism can get boring after a while because you're stuck. It makes sense. You're kind of unchanging and you're kind of stuck. And she apologizes in her mind for, like, in her eyes, is like, I lied to you. But even he's like, why did you show me like why'd you only show me like the good side of the night then and stuff like that, because she was kind of like, yeah, it was fun and she wanted to. And it's interesting, like, cause for her it's just kind of like, right, if you don't want to be a vampire anymore, like that's understandable. Like the crazy thing is you're an oddball for being unsure, you know. And so she tries to leave, but he grabs her and is like, no, don't leave yet. But then he's on top of her and she acts like she's about to kiss him, but it's like, oh, you thought I was going to kiss you? And she just licks his neck and leave. But obviously he's kind of confused and uncertain now, because like he does want to become a vampire, but once again, this whole 2 episode thing has kind of put things in perspective for him about like, once again, he didn't know as much as he thought he knew. And ultimately it ends with him talking to Akno because he needs to learn more, which she's up there chastising, like, you know, like making him disarm by showing off her goofy side by being like, hey, you just you came here to flirt with me, huh? And then actually he was like, no, that's not what it is. She's like, oh. In fact, he's like, wait, why are you actually getting angry? Because she's like, I wanted the option to kind of toy around with a younger man. Like, I wanted to do that. Once again, prove I kind of got it. But then it's like, oh, you came here to ask me about vampires and stuff. And he's like, why do you hate vampires so much? And she's like, because humans going at it, it's just a reality of like we're coexisting as beings, and of course it's going to lead to bad stuff. It is what it is. But what she hates is something like an unnatural, like a vampire, which was never meant to exist, to like meddle in the affairs of humans. It's like it's an outside force interfering. Like, once again, humans are doing human things. You have no place in this. You shouldn't even exist. So why are they even a part of this equation? They're kind of like, that's why I think she views them as like the abominations that they are. Probably is also, there's probably history there where she has a connection with like a bad experience with a vampire. But you know, that once again, whether it's a family thing, like something happened to her family, or maybe issues with vampirism runs through her lineage, or maybe it's just like, no, this is her thing, just personally hates vampires because maybe she was almost deceived by a vampire years ago. Who knows? This side of the episode also shows you like the very kind of like sadistic side to Anko, but it's also like like sadism for the purposes of, in the regards of like how sadistic she can come off in this conversation. It's because she is trying to make a point. She even said it herself, I will do whatever it takes to stop you from becoming a vampire. I'll do that. Because it's like, by once again reminding you of the harsh reality. Because he's trying to say like, right, that guy was an outlier. It's like, yeah, but if the time comes, I might have been conflating his conversation with Mahiru with what he was having with her, like the whole like, right, will you be able to control yourself, or will you be okay drinking blood? That wasn't with Mahiru, that was with her. She also proves how much she knows about Ko. She's like, oh, I know you live in a single mother, you don't go to school, the fact is this and that, your idiotic dream about wanting to become a vampire, the fact is you don't have any porn, but you download stuff on your phone, but then you feel guilty about it and delete it, but then you'll start the whole process over again. And he's like, whoa, stop. And she's like, I'm kidding, I'm a detective, it's just speculation. But it's like, no, she nailed too much for that just to be speculation. She has done her due diligence. For her to already walk into that situation last episode knowing that you had that dream about becoming a vampire, even though it's like the only people who know that are other vampires. He doesn't just casually mention it, that people who are in this world are the ones who knows. But it could also be she's inferring, because maybe the reason why she's so desperate when it comes to Ko is because she knew a Ko. Maybe she was the Mahiro or Akira to a Ko at one point in time, and that Ko became a vampire. I mean, maybe we might even find out that one of the vampires we've come to know might be someone that Anko knew in the past or something like that. It could be the twist. I mean, it'd be really interesting if we ended up finding out that she actually has a connection to Nazuna. Like, I was curious, like, maybe, well, it definitely can't be Nazuna because, like, Anko isn't old enough, because I was about to say she's probably in like her 20s, if at probably mid 20s at best. I mean, there's always a possibility late 20s, early 30s, but I'm going more like mid 20s. Probably put her around the same age as Kiyosumi, who is like 24, so maybe 24, 25, but maybe she is closer to the 30 range, maybe. But My point, like my thing is, maybe she met Nazuna years ago, or maybe not her, maybe one of the other vampires or something, and felt betrayed by them, and that kind of sent her down the path. You know, different people have different reactions to the whole vampire thing. Ko's a lot more embracing of it. Akiyama is a lot more embracing of it. That guy obviously wasn't, because he felt tricked into it. So, but this also leads into what I was saying about the more sadistic angle to Anko, where she kind of suggests, like, did you ever think for a second, Ko, that you might be incapable of romantic urges? And she's like, oh, and the fact of the matter is, you know what that means? That means you'll never become a vampire. It's 100% guaranteed if that's the aspect. And she's like, and if that becomes the case, they'll kill you because you're a human who knows about their existence. So she's like, you have two choices right now. Try and become a vampire, which that might not happen, or you end up dying because they kill you. It's like, so you could live as a human or keep trying to become a vampire. She's like, you have to decide right now. And he's like, well, how would you stop them from like killing me if I decide to stay human? She's like, don't worry about it. I'll kill every single one of them. But he's like, no, they're not the monsters you think them to be. You're acting like they're pure evil. But like, I've seen that they worry about the same thing humans do, that they're a lot more like us. They're not like some foreign entity that is completely different from us. And for her, it's like, she's almost kind of disappointed in the choice that he's making. She's like, okay, fine. If that's where you're going to go, I'll force your hand. And she calls the police to be like, hey, yeah, there's a kid. Yeah. Oh, in this particular area. So it's like, yeah, she's trying to take the night from him. It's like, cool. If I can't use words, I will force your hand. By forcing you to stay home, you'll never be able to enjoy the nightlife. You'll never be able to see Nazuna because there'll be a lot more scrutiny on you. So I'm robbing you of this thing that you enjoy. That's how I preemptively make it so that you don't become a vampire. It's like, it's all kinds of effed up, especially considering last episode, she was kind of implying like, oh, I won't get the law involved. I'm not trying to like yuck your yum or ruin your fun, until now that she knows like, oh, vampires involved, and then I'm going to yuck your yum and I'm going to screw up the thing that you hold dear, the thing that's kind of become important to you. And he's rushing home and he's like, I didn't get to ask her any questions about, how much she knows about vampires. Why is it that her blood tastes bad? Because I thought like maybe that was because that guy hadn't had blood in so long, and he was like, oh, no blood at all. And he was like, oh, I thought this was supposed to be delicious. But it's like, does she do something to her blood to make her undesirable to vampires? Could it be a thing of she injects herself with vampire blood? Because, once again, vampires drinking vampire blood is kind of yucky and there's nothing from it. So it's like, because basically you're drinking kind of dead person's blood. So I wonder if that's what it is. He's like, yeah, how does she kill vampires and whatnot? He's upset with himself because he's like, I got so rattled and she controlled the flow of the conversation. I didn't get any of the information out of it that I want. And now like the entire thing that I care about, because I forgot to talk about this, but he was kind of concerned, like, with someone being able to hurt vampires, with someone who doesn't like vampires. He was worried that his involvement would put her in danger, and he would never want Nazuna to be put in danger. And it's like, oh, do I want to go see Nazuna? He's like, I want to talk to her right now, but I can't, because if I go, I'm just going to like be putting even more of a target on her back, because at the very least, if I stay away from her, at least Anko will have less reason to go after her and just kind of leave her alone, at least for now. I'm just going to add more fuel to the fire by going to her. And for one, she probably already knows where Nazuna lives because she is as good as she is, but she probably hasn't acted upon it because I don't think she has the means to try and get because the guy, that teacher, hated what he'd become. He was lost and confused. It made him easy for her to kill, but like killing any of the others who are confirmed and solidified in what they are. I mean, once again, Nazuna is in a position where she says she has grown bored of being a vampire, having been like this for decades. So it puts her in a different position because and even Siri has commented on like her issues with like the vampirism stuff, but she does have Akiyama to kind of balance that out now, just like Nazuna's kind of got Ko to balance that out. So I don't know, some very fascinating developments. But we do see one of the vampires show up at the end of the episode. I don't know if she went looking for Ko specifically or what, but what's her name? Hatsuka, I believe. I'm curious why she's here now and for what purpose. We'll ultimately have to wait to see where the season finale ultimately ends up taking us going forward with all of this. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.